thought, John, that must be the first aviation conference ever that begins with the worst case scenario, someone falling out of a plane at altitude. But well done for that. I also, you heard John mention he's from Manchester. Now, last night I reflected a bit on us hosting the World Cup in 2010. And we're thinking about it a lot now as the World Cup starts in Russia. But John, we became wise to ambush marketing in 2010. So when you snuck the United in there as a Manchester man, right? We're on to you, we see you. Thank you very much for coming. Welcome everybody. I'd like to particularly welcome the MEC for Economic Opportunities, who will be speaking a little bit later. He's the closest thing that I have to a boss in the room, between him and my other boss, the mayor who you met last night. They're formally welcoming you here to the Western Cape and Cape Town. I'd also like to welcome our host, or thank our host, John van Rooyen. He's the general manager of Sogo Sun, who runs this hotel and many others around the Cape region. And everybody else from the airlines, from our partners, all the delegates, welcome again to Cape Town. I'm going to tell you a story about South Africa in 2015. By that stage, the buzz of the World Cup had worn off, and we were in some difficult economic times. National growth was extremely low, and sitting down here in Cape Town, at the southern tip of Africa, we were really battling with achieving a vision of being truly connected to Africa and the world. It's when you're a long-haul destination like Cape Town and you're transitioning, as the mayor said, from a bucket list tourist destination into a business hub, you really, really need connectivity. And at that stage, many people were working on it. The mayor was meeting airlines. The province under Alan Winde had a department or a unit looking at aviation. Everybody was having conversations, but they weren't doing it together. So 3 years ago, we started this truly collaborative approach, involving the airport's company, and Dion, the airport manager, and Fundi, you'll hear from in a second, representing the company that runs the best airports in Africa, including the very best airport in Africa, Cape Town International. They were joined by another national entity, South African Tourism, in the partnership a few months ago, the Western Cape government, represented by the MEC, the city of Cape Town, represented by the mayor, Cape Town Tourism, who were with us at the event last night. And this collaborative approach, all of these partners from across government, local, provincial, and national government, got together with the private sector and said, what if we join up our efforts to connect Cape Town to Africa and the world? And that's the story of Cape Town Air Access. We thought when we started we could launch 3 new flights in 3 years. We recently announced the 13th new route, 17 route expansions. We've doubled seat capacity at the airport and triggered a massive expansion coming in the next few years of Cape Town International. We're truly turning the airport and the city into a hub for the continent. On the back of 16% international terminal passenger growth in 2016 and 20% in 2017, and this phenomenal 52% in air cargo growth last year. And the direct impact in tourism spend alone has been 40 billion for Cape Town and the Western Cape. So I think you'll agree, it's probably one of the most successful recent collaborative exercises in route development, in connecting a city to Africa and the world. And it's led to growth from all of our markets. Right across the world, our markets are growing. Obviously, Europe is the big one, 15% growth, taking us up to almost 1.5 million passengers a year. But growth right across markets, even that we're not yet connected to, and we will be very soon. This is what the route network looks like now. We've got 21 airlines that fly to Cape Town International, connecting us to 25 destinations using 29 routes. And the momentum has continued even in recent months. We know Singapore expanded recently to a daily flight between Cape Town and Singapore. Cathay Pacific starting their flight in November, linking us non-stop to Hong Kong And in October, Austrian Airlines launches a new flight to Vienna. So the project started strong and has maintained its momentum. But let me talk quickly about what we're all here to discuss: African aviation, connecting our citizens directly through the growth of aviation in Africa. Since the start of the project 3 years ago, we've got 4 new airlines connecting to Cape Town: Ethiopian, TAG, Kenya, and Rwanda Air. 8 new destinations across our continent: Addis, Harare, Kigali, Livingston, Luanda, Maun, Nairobi, and Vic Falls. It represents 400,000 seats out of Africa linked into Cape Town, 1/3 of the total seats added over the past 3 years. And just this year alone, we've got 2 new routes connecting us to 3 cities: a non-stop flight to Nairobi that joins the effective daily flight that have been routing via Zambia and Zimbabwe, and on the 6th of June, that non-stop connection 3 times a week launched on Kenya Airways. And then the newest addition, the Kigali-Harare Cape Town flight, 4 flights a week, that started on the 16th of May. And John mentioned again how after only a month that aircraft's been upgraded, rather. The route expansions since the beginning of this year: Air Mauritius has added a wide body since March, and they're increasing the frequencies to 3 flights a week from October. Kenya Airways increased their frequency to 4 flights a week, starting on March this year. TAG has gone to 4 flights a week in the winter season, and then for summer, they'll be going daily from the 1st of December. And our friends at Airlink increasing capacity in July to Vic Falls and in June to Maun, adding the 83-seater Avro RJ, which includes for the first time business class. So that's just happened in the first few months of this year, and what it's driven is deep connectivity from Cape Town into our most important markets. These are our top 10. You'll notice the top 7 are served. So for those of you representing airlines that could connect us to Mozambique, Nigeria, or Tanzania, these are top 10 destinations in volume to Cape Town that are currently unserved by non-stop connectivity. So there's a challenge to you. Please speak to our team at Cape Town Air Access about how you can help us connect to these markets. And it's important to note that although that team I described earlier the initiative is run by government partners and private sector partners right across the Cape, it's staffed by aviation professionals. So you're dealing with route professionals who've got decades of airline experience. And I think the airlines in the room that have dealt with that team will tell you that one of the reasons why they've started or expanded their flights to Cape Town is because not only are they dealing with aviation professionals in Cape Town Air Access, but they're plugging right into all of the stakeholders who co-fund and co-manage the project. Lastly, just looking at the trends, percentage growth in destinations for 2017. These are the strongest growing markets into Cape Town: Walvis, Vic Falls, Port Louis, Maun, and Dakar. So Dakar, interestingly, is not served with non-stop connectivity, but it's still one of our top 5 fastest growing destinations to Cape Town. And then the unserved, the big opportunity, the ones we want to be talking to you about at this conference over the next 2 days: Lagos, Maputo, Lusaka, Accra, and Dar. Unserved markets, big volumes into Cape Town. And what I like about this picture is it's regionally spread right across this continent. We've got 2 destinations in West Africa, 1 in Southern Africa, 1 in East Africa. We've got demand and growth out of the whole of this continent, which, if you listen to the mayor's comments last night, is really important in terms of achieving her vision of Cape Town transitioning from a strong tourist hub into a business hub for the continent. That's what's happening out of the city, but it's only happening because of the deep connections that we're establishing across the continent and around the world. It essentially, the routes that we've developed, the routes that we've brought on together with you, our airline partners, have unlocked the potential of the city and are connecting us deeply to our continent. And somebody who is very well placed to reflect on not only the collaborative approach that we've taken across political lines to route development, but also is a very close friend of mine. She's the person who I've known for longest in the room. We actually went to school together, is Fundi Sitebe. She's the Chief Operating Officer of AXA, our partner that runs Cape Town International and many of the biggest airports across South Africa. She's been at AXA since 2015. She's been Chief Operations Officer since December 2017. She's got a background in consulting and banking. She's a member of South African Women in Aviation and Aerospace and Women in Aviation. And I'm pleased to say she's an aviator herself. So she's incredibly well placed to represent our valued partner AXA and join us in welcoming you here to Cape Town and AviaDev 2018. Fundi.